You know that feeling when your whole world tilts on its axis in a single second. When everything you thought was solid just crumbles. That's what happened to me on a Tuesday night in our penthouse. Arthur was in the kitchen, actually cooking for once, trying so hard to be the perfect husband, you know? The smell of garlic and wine filled the air, soft jazz playing in the background. He was humming, completely relaxed. And then his phone lit up on the marble counter. Just a buzz, just a glow. But I saw it. I miss your warmth. The text was from Mia, his intern, 23 years old, still in grad school, working at his firm. My heart stopped. I'm not being dramatic. It literally felt like my chest caved in. My hands started shaking. The room spun. 7 years of marriage, and in 1 second, I knew. I just knew. Arthur didn't see me looking. He was too busy chopping basil, probably congratulating himself for being such a thoughtful husband. My throat was tight, my eyes burning with tears that I refused to let fall. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw that pan of pasta across the room and watch it explode against the wall. I wanted to grab him by his collar and demand answers. But then, something shifted. It was like ice water running through my veins, cooling down the fire, sharpening everything into focus. My hands stopped shaking. My breathing slowed, and I thought, no, not like this. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to beg. I'm going to make them both face exactly what they've done. I picked up his phone. No passcode between us. Such beautiful trust, right? And I read the full message. I miss your warmth, your touch, the way you make me feel alive. I opened the keyboard. My fingers moved like they had a mind of their own. I miss you too. My wife just left for her evening yoga class. Come over now. I need to see you. Send, delete the sent message. Done. I walked back to the dining room and sat down with my wine glass. My heart was still racing, but now it wasn't panic. It was anticipation. Arthur kept cooking, humming that stupid jazz tune, completely oblivious that I'd just set a trap that would destroy his entire world. 20 minutes. That's how long I sat there, sipping wine, watching him, knowing what was coming. And when that doorbell finally rang, when Arthur's face went ghost white, and the knife clattered from his hand onto the counter, when he stammered, Are you expecting someone? I smiled. I stood up, smooth and calm, and walked to that door like I was greeting an old friend. I opened it wide. There she was, Mia, in her tight little dress, cheap wine bottle in hand, lips glossed and ready. Her face went from excited to confused to absolutely horrified in 3 seconds flat. I stepped aside, gestured her in like a gracious hostess. Mia, what a lovely surprise. Arthur didn't mention you were coming, but please, come in. We have so much to talk about. The look on both their faces, pure, unfiltered terror. It was the most honest thing either of them had shown me in months. And that's when I realized I wasn't just going to confront them. I was going to dismantle them, piece by piece, starting tonight. Mia stepped inside like she was walking into a trap, which, well, she was. Her heels clicked on our marble floor, each step more hesitant than the last. Arthur just stood there in the kitchen doorway, frozen, his face this awful shade of gray. I could see the panic in his eyes, the calculations running through his head, trying to figure out how to spin this. But I didn't give him the chance. Please, sit down, I said, gesturing to our white leather sofa. My voice was sweet, too sweet. The kind of sweet that makes your skin crawl because you know something's wrong but you can't quite place it. Both of you. Make yourselves comfortable. Mia looked at Arthur. Arthur looked at the floor. Neither of them moved fast enough, so I just waited, let the silence stretch, let them squirm. Finally, they shuffled over and sat down, as far apart as possible, like that would somehow make this better. I went to the kitchen, walked right past Arthur like he was invisible, and started making tea. Not for them, for me. I took my time, selected my favorite porcelain cup, the one with the gold rim that my grandmother gave me, heated the water, steeped the tea. Then I grabbed one of our fancy cups for Arthur and poured him some too. For Mia. I opened the cabinet where we keep the plastic cups. You know, the ones you use for outdoor parties or when you don't want guests using your good stuff. I filled it with tap water, cold tap water, no ice, no lemon, just water, in a cheap plastic cup. I walked back to the living room and handed Arthur his tea in fine china, handed Mia her water in plastic. The symbolism wasn't lost on her. I watched her face crumble just a little bit more as she took that cup from my hand. I sat down across from them, crossed my legs, sipped my tea. "So, Mia," I said, like we were at a garden party. "How's grad school going? Arthur tells me you're studying marketing. Is that right?" She stuttered something about her classes. Her hand was shaking so hard the water nearly sloshed out of that plastic cup. Arthur was sweating, like visibly sweating. A bead of it rolled down his temple. "And the internship," I continued, smiling. "How are you finding it? Arthur's been mentoring you quite closely, hasn't he?" The word, closely, hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Mia's eyes went wide. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. He's been very helpful." "Oh, I'm sure he has," I said. I took another sip, let the silence build again. And then I leaned forward, just slightly, and said, "Tell me, Mia, when exactly did a mentorship start including late-night texts about warmth and touch?" Her plastic cup fell from her hand and hit the floor. The water from Mia's cup spread across our expensive rug, but I didn't move to clean it. I just watched it seep into the fibers, staining them, ruining them, kind of like what they'd done to my marriage. Mia scrambled to pick up the cup, mumbling apologies, her hands shaking so badly she could barely grasp it. "Leave it," I said quietly. She froze. Arthur finally found his voice. "Julianne, listen, this is all a misunderstanding." I held up one finger, just one, and he shut up immediately. 7 years of marriage, and he knew that gesture. When I held up that finger, someone was about to get destroyed. I turned my attention back to Mia, studying her like she was a specimen under glass. "You know what really bothers me about young women today?" I asked, conversational, light. The complete lack of respect for boundaries, for marriages, for other women. I paused. "What's your opinion on that, Mia?" She looked like she might throw up. I think, because here's what I find fascinating," I continued, not letting her finish. "A woman, an educated woman, a feminist woman, I'm sure, sees a married man and thinks, yes, that's exactly what I want, someone else's husband." I tilted my head. "What does that say about your character, about your values, about your self-worth?" Mia's face was red now, blotchy, tears pooling in her eyes. Arthur tried again. "She's just a kid. She's 23. I cut him off, my voice sharp as a blade. "Old enough to vote, old enough to drink, old enough to know that screwing a married man is a choice." I turned back to Mia. "Tell me, sweetie, when he told you about his stomach issues, the acid reflux that keeps him up at night, did you suggest the same remedies I did? Or did you come up with something more creative?" The color drained from both their faces. Bingo. "How did you—" Arthur started. "Oh, honey," I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You told her about the acid reflux after our anniversary dinner, the one where you said you ate too much and went to bed early, except you didn't go to bed, did you? You texted her for 2 hours about how misunderstood you felt." how I didn't get you anymore. I watched him crumble. You told her about the promotion you were nervous about, the client meeting that went wrong, the fight with your brother. I leaned forward. You gave her all the intimate details of our life, Arthur. You made her feel special with my stories, my marriage, my secrets. Mia started crying. Real, ugly crying. Mascara running down her face. I didn't know it was like this. He said you guys were basically over, that you hadn't been happy in years. Of course he did, I said, almost bored now. That's what they all say, isn't it? And my wife doesn't understand me. We're basically roommates. We're staying together for... What was it, Arthur? The dog. We don't even have a dog. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the city lights. My city, my view, that I paid half for. Let me guess the rest of the script, I said, my back to them. He told you that you were special, different, that he'd never felt this way before, that he was going to leave me, he just needed to find the right time. Silence. Then, quietly, Mia whispered, "Yes." I turned around. "And you believed him?" She nodded, tears streaming. "Well," I said, walking back to stand in front of her. "Let me tell you what's going to happen now. You're going to leave. You're going to walk out that door. And you're never going to contact my husband again. Because if you do..." I smiled. "I have months of text messages. Screenshots, time-stamped photos, and I know exactly who to send them to." Mia shot up like the couch was on fire. My mom's sick. I have to go." "Your mom's been sick for 3 months, according to the texts," I said calmly. "But sure, use that excuse. Run." And she did. She grabbed her purse, left that cheap bottle of wine on our coffee table, and practically sprinted for the door. Her heels clicked frantically across the marble. The door slammed behind her so hard the walls shook, and then it was just me and Arthur, alone in the apartment that suddenly felt 20 degrees colder. He opened his mouth to speak. I held up my hand. "Don't," I said. "Not yet, because what I'm about to show you, you're going to want to save your breath." The silence after Mia left was deafening. Arthur sat there on that white leather sofa, his hands clasped between his knees, head down like a child waiting for punishment. And you know what? That's exactly what he looked like. A child. Not the man I married. Not the man who promised me forever in front of 200 people. Just a pathetic, caught cheater trying to figure out which lie would work best. "Julianne," he finally said, his voice cracking. She's unstable. I didn't invite her here. I don't know why she thought..." "Stop." I walked over to where his phone still sat on the counter, picked it up. The screen lit up with his face, unlocking instantly. "You want to keep lying? Really? That's the route you're going with?" He stood up, panic flooding his features. Don't go through my phone. That's private." "Private?" I laughed. Actually laughed. "Will you lose the right to privacy when you stick your dick in someone who's not your wife?" I opened his messages, scrolled back. Months of messages with Mia. "Let's see," I said, my voice steady even though my heart was hammering. "Here's one from March. Can't stop thinking about last night. You make me feel alive again. Oh, and this one from April, a heart emoji at 2 a.m. That was the night you told me you were working late on the Henderson account." I looked up at him. His face was ashen. "Should I keep going? Because there are literally hundreds of these." Arthur took a step toward me. "Baby, please, let me explain." "Explain." I walked to our TV, grabbed the HDMI cable from the Apple TV, and connected his phone. "Oh, I think we're past explanations, Arthur," I think we're at the evidence presentation stage now. The TV screen flickered to life. His messages with Mia, blown up to 65 inches. Every heart emoji. Every, I miss you. Every, when can I see you again? I scrolled slowly, methodically. Let him watch his betrayal displayed like a slideshow from hell. October 15th, I read aloud, pointing at the screen. You took an Uber to her apartment. $42, charged to our joint credit card. The one we use for household expenses. I scrolled more. November 3rd. You bought her lunch at that Italian place downtown. The one where we had our first date. $86, also on our card. My voice was getting harder now, sharper. December 9th. A hotel room. Arthur. $230. While I was at my sister's baby shower, you were in a Hilton with a 23-year-old intern. He sank back down onto the couch. And I'll delete everything. I'll end it. It meant nothing, I swear. It meant nothing, I repeated. I felt something snap inside me. Something final. I walked to the kitchen, to that beautiful pasta dish he'd made, the one that was supposed to fix everything. The sauce was still simmering, the basil still fresh. So much effort, so much performance. I picked up the pan. It was heavy, hot, perfect. Arthur watched me, confused. What are you? I walked straight to the trash can, opened the lid, and I tilted that pan, watching the pasta slide out in one long, disgusting mass. The sauce splattered. The meatballs hit the garbage with wet thuds. The whole beautiful dinner, ruined, gone. Your food, I said quietly, just like your excuses, makes me want to vomit. I dropped the empty pan into the sink. It clattered loud enough to make him flinch. 7 years, Arthur. I gave you 7 years. I supported you when you wanted to start your own consulting firm. My parents loaned you $50,000 when the bank said no. I moved across the country for your career. I postponed having kids because you weren't ready. I turned to face him. And you threw it away for what? For some girl who thinks a $16 bottle of wine is impressive. Arthur's face crumpled. He started crying. Real tears, not the manipulative kind. I'm so sorry. God, Julianne, I'm so sorry. I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, whatever you want. Just please. Please what? I asked. Please forgive you. Please pretend I didn't see months of evidence that you checked out of this marriage while I was still fighting for it. I shook my head. No, we're way past that now. I walked to our bedroom. He followed me like a lost puppy, still begging, still making promises he'd never keep. I went to the closet, pulled down the suitcase I'd hidden there 3 days ago, because yes, I'd been suspicious, I'd been planning, already packed with my essentials. What are you doing? He asked, his voice panicked. Where are you going? Somewhere you're not, I said simply. But before I left, I reached into my bag and pulled out a document, the one I'd made copies of last week. I placed it on the dining room table, right where that ruined dinner was supposed to be served. What's that? Arthur asked. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. That's the promissory note my parents made you sign when they loaned you $50,000 to start your business. Remember, the one you promised to pay back within 2 years. I watched understanding dawn on his face. That was 3 years ago, Arthur. You're in default. And according to the terms, which I suggest you read carefully, the collateral for that loan is this apartment, the one that's in your name because I was such a supportive wife and let you have it for tax purposes. His hand went to his mouth. No, Julianne, you can't. I can, and I will. I picked up my suitcase. You have 30 days to pay my parents back the full 50,000 tongs plus interest. That's 62,000 total. Or I execute the lien, and this apartment gets sold to settle the debt. I walked to the door. Good luck finding that kind of money without a reference from your current employer. Oh, wait. I paused, hand on the doorknob. You're about to lose that too. And I walked out, leaving Arthur alone in our penthouse, in the silence, with nothing but his shattered lies and the cold realization that his whole world was about to burn. The silence after I threw that pan of pasta in the trash was suffocating. Arthur just stood there, staring at the garbage can like he could somehow reverse what just happened. Like he could rewind time and undo months of betrayal. But that's not how consequences work. That's not how any of this works. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, calm, methodical, like I'd just finished cleaning up after a normal dinner, and walked past him toward our bedroom. He followed, of course, stammering apologies, making promises he'd never keep. Julianne, please, we can fix this. I'll end it. I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, whatever you want. I didn't respond, didn't even look at him. I just opened our closet and pulled down the suitcase from the top shelf. The one I'd packed 3 days ago when I first confirmed my suspicions. When I'd found that lingerie charge and started putting all the pieces together. Arthur's face went white. What? What are you doing? What does it look like? I said calmly, setting the suitcase on the bed. It was already packed. Clothes, toiletries, important documents, my grandmother's jewelry. Everything I needed to walk out and never look back. You're leaving. His voice cracked. Right now, you're not even going to give me a chance to explain? I turned to face him, really looked at him. This man I'd loved for 7 years. This man I'd supported through every career change, every doubt, every failure. This man whose business only existed because my parents believed in him when no one else would. And all I felt was nothing. Cold, empty, nothing. Explain what, exactly? I asked. How you accidentally fell into bed with your intern. How you accidentally spent months texting her during our anniversary dinner, during family events, during the nights I went to bed alone because you said you were working late. I zipped up the suitcase. Save it. I've heard enough lies for one lifetime. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I walked to my nightstand, opened the drawer, and pulled out a manila folder. The one I'd prepared yesterday after meeting with Rebecca. I placed it on the dining room table with deliberate care, right where that ruined dinner was supposed to be served. Arthur stared at it like it was a bomb. What's that? Open it, I said simply. His hands shook as he picked up the folder. I watched his face as he read the first page, watched the color drain completely, watched understanding dawn in his eyes. This is the promissory note, he whispered, from your parents, for the business loan. $50,000, I said, my voice steady as steel. That they loaned you 3 years ago to start your consulting firm. The loan you signed, promising to pay back within 2 years. The loan that's now 14 months overdue. Arthur looked up at me, panic flooding his features. But we talked about this. Your parents said I could take my time, that there was no rush. That was before you decided to fuck a 23-year-old and throw away our marriage. I interrupted. Funny how circumstances change things. I picked up my suitcase. Read the fine print, Arthur. The collateral for that loan is this apartment. The one that's in your name because I was such a supportive wife and wanted you to have it for tax purposes. Remember? His hands were shaking so badly the papers rattled. You can't... Julianne, you can't do this. I can, and I am. I walked toward the door, then paused. You have 30 days to pay back the full amount. $50,000 plus 3 years of interest at 6%. That's $62,000, Arthur. Total. Due in full. I opened the door, felt the cool hallway air on my face. Freedom, just steps away. I don't have that kind of money. Arthur's voice rose to a shout. I don't have $60,000 just lying around. Then I suggest you figure it out, I said calmly. Sell something, borrow from friends, get a second job. I really don't care how you do it. I stepped into the hallway. Wait. He rushed toward me. What if I can't pay it? What happens then? I looked at him one last time. This man who'd shared my bed, my life, my dreams. This stranger who'd thrown it all away for something shiny and new. Then the apartment gets sold to settle the debt, I said. And you'll be homeless on top of everything else. I could see him calculating, panicking, trying to find a way out. You're really going to destroy me over this. No, Arthur, I said quietly. You destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure you can't take me down with you. And I walked away. Left him standing in the doorway of our penthouse, holding that promissory note, finally understanding that his actions had consequences, real ones, the kind that couldn't be smiled away or explained away or forgotten over time. The elevator doors closed, and I saw my reflection in the polished metal. I looked different, harder, stronger, free. And somewhere behind me, Arthur was realizing that the worst part of all of this, it was only just beginning. I drove straight to Rebecca's house. It was almost 11 p.m., but I'd texted her from the car. I'm coming over. We have work to do. She opened the door in her pajamas, took one look at my face, and stepped aside without a word. We went to her dining room table, the same one where we'd studied for the bar exam together years ago, where we'd celebrated promotions and cried over breakups and planned out our futures. Now we were planning Arthur's destruction. Wine or tequila? She asked. Coffee? I said, opening my laptop. I need to be sharp for this. Rebecca made a pot while I pulled up everything I'd collected over the past 3 days. Every screenshot, every receipt, every piece of evidence that proved Arthur wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a liability to his company. Walk me through it, Rebecca said, sitting down with 2 mugs. I pulled up the first folder. Arthur is a senior consultant at Morrison & Drake. Mia is a graduate intern in their marketing department. She reports to someone who reports to someone who reports to Arthur's division head. I clicked through the organizational chart I'd found on their website. That puts him in a position of authority over her, even if he's not her direct supervisor. Rebecca nodded, taking notes. That's a power dynamic issue. Most companies have strict policies about relationships between senior staff and interns. Exactly, I said. I opened the next folder. Here are messages they exchanged during work hours. Timestamps show they were texting while Arthur was supposed to be in client meetings, during conference calls, even during his performance review last month. I scrolled through hundreds of messages. Hearts, flirting, explicit content, all sent from company devices, on company time. Jesus, Rebecca whispered. He wasn't even trying to hide it. Because he never thought he'd get caught, I said bitterly. I pulled up the credit card statements. Now here's where it gets interesting. These lunch charges, all on the corporate card, the one Morrison & Drake issues for client entertainment. I highlighted the relevant entries. February 14th, Le Bernardin, $240. He told me he was meeting with the Henderson team. But look at the Instagram post Mia made that day. I pulled it up. A photo of a fancy restaurant, a glass of champagne. The caption, treated like a queen. Geotagged at Le Bernardin, same date, same time. That's misuse of company funds, Rebecca said, her voice hardening. That's fraud. There's more, I said. I pulled up Uber receipts, hotel bookings, even a charge for flowers, all on Arthur's corporate card, all time-stamped to match his meetups with Mia. He's been using company resources to conduct an affair for at least 6 months, maybe longer. Rebecca leaned back in her chair, a slow smile spreading across her face. You're going to bury him. We're going to bury him, I corrected. I need your help drafting this email. It has to be perfect, professional, unemotional, just facts and evidence. We worked for hours. Rebecca knew exactly how to structure it. She'd handled employment law cases before. The email was clinical, precise, devastating. Subject line: formal complaint, ethics violation and misuse of corporate resources. We laid it all out in chronological order: the relationship timeline, the power dynamic, the company policy violations, every message sent during work hours, every fraudulent expense claim, every lie Arthur had told to cover his tracks. We attached everything, organized into folders, labeled clearly, made it impossible for HR to ignore or sweep under the rug. "There's one thing you need to understand," Rebecca said carefully, her hand hovering over the mouse. "Once we send this, there's no taking it back. Arthur will lose his job. Mia will lose her internship. This will follow both of them for the rest of their careers." I thought about it, really thought about it. About Arthur crying in our apartment, begging for another chance. About Mia, young and stupid, believing whatever lies he'd fed her. About the nuclear bomb I was about to drop on both their lives. Then I thought about 7 years of my life, of trust betrayed, of vows broken, of the humiliation of finding out my husband preferred someone barely out of college, of all the times I'd supported him, believed in him, sacrificed for him, and this was how he repaid me. "Send it," I said. Rebecca added the email addresses: HR manager, compliance department, division head, and, just to make absolutely sure it couldn't be buried, the CEO. "You're sure?" she asked one last time. I reached over and clicked send myself. The whoosh sound as the email left felt final, irreversible, like dropping a match into gasoline and watching the flames catch. We sat there in silence for a moment. It was done. By Monday morning, Arthur's entire world would be on fire. "Now what?" Rebecca asked. I closed my laptop. "Now we wait, and we watch it all burn." She poured us both a shot of tequila. We didn't toast, we just drank in silence. Two women who understood that sometimes justice isn't pretty. Sometimes it's cold and calculated and absolutely necessary. My phone buzzed. A text from Arthur. "Where are you? Please come home. We need to talk." I turned off my phone. There was nothing left to talk about. Monday morning came like Judgment Day. I woke up in Rebecca's guest room at 6 a.m. Couldn't sleep anymore. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering if the email had been opened yet. If Arthur was awake. If he had any clue what was coming for him. Rebecca knocked on my door at 7 with coffee. "Their HR department opens at 8, she said. "Your email hit their inbox at 10:47 p.m. Saturday. Someone's definitely read it by now. Probably forwarded it up the chain." I got dressed slowly, carefully. Did my makeup like I was preparing for battle. Because in a way, I was. This was the day Arthur's carefully constructed life would collapse, and I wanted to look good watching it happen. At 8:34 a.m., my old phone, the one I'd left off all weekend, buzzed to life when I turned it on. 23 missed calls from Arthur, 14 voicemails, texts that devolved from "we need to talk" to "where are you" to "please, Julianne. They called me in for a meeting. HR wants to see me. Do you know anything about this?" I smiled, didn't respond, just watched the messages pile up in real time as he spiraled. At 9:02 a.m., a new text. "They're showing me emails, photos, receipts. This is you, isn't it? You did this." I typed back one word: consequences. Then I muted him again. Rebecca was watching me from across the kitchen. "How do you feel?" "Powerful," I said honestly. "For the first time in months, I feel like I have control over something." At 9:47 a.m., Rebecca's phone rang. A colleague who worked in the same building as Morrison and Drake. She put it on speaker. "Girl, you are not going to believe what just happened. Security just escorted someone out of the building. Senior guy. Had him in HR for like 40 minutes. Then walked him through the lobby with a box of his stuff. Everyone's talking about it." My heart started racing. This was it. "Did you catch his name?" Rebecca asked, her eyes on mine. "Arthur Chen. Apparently there was some kind of affair with an intern. They fired both of them on the spot. Ethics violation, misuse of company funds, the whole deal. It's brutal." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Wait, there's more," her friend continued. "The intern was a mess, like full-on sobbing in the lobby, mascara everywhere. She tried to say they were in love, that it was consensual, but HR shut her down, said it didn't matter. Violation of policy is violation of policy." Rebecca's friend lowered her voice. "And here's the kicker. Morrison and Drake is putting out the word. They're calling every major firm in the city, making sure everyone knows why he was terminated. Corporate ethics violation, fraud, inappropriate relationship with a subordinate. He's basically blacklisted. No one's going to touch him now." Rebecca thanked her and hung up. We sat there, letting it sink in. Arthur wasn't just fired. He was destroyed. His reputation in the industry, built over a decade of work, was gone. "We should go see it," I said quietly. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. "See what?" "Him. I want to see him walk out of that building." She grabbed her keys without another word. We parked across the street from Morrison and Drake at 10:30 a.m. The building was sleek glass and steel, the kind of place that screamed success and ambition. I'd been there before, for company events, holiday parties, always on Arthur's arm as the supportive wife. Now I was here to watch him lose it all. At 11:15 a.m., Arthur emerged from a side exit. A security guard walked 2 steps behind him. He was carrying a cardboard box, the kind they give you when they fire you, so you can pack up your desk plant and your framed photos and whatever other pieces of your life you kept at work. He looked destroyed. His tie was loose, his shirt untucked, his eyes red and swollen. He kept looking around, paranoid, like he was afraid someone would see him. And people did see him. 2 of his former colleagues walked past, recognized him, and quickly looked away. The shame of it. The public humiliation of being fired and escorted out like a criminal. Arthur loaded his box into his Tesla, that ridiculous $90,000 car he'd insisted we couldn't live without, and just sat there in the driver's seat, not moving, not starting the car, just sitting with his head in his hands, shoulders shaking. I watched him through my sunglasses, feeling absolutely nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, just cold observation. My phone lit up. Arthur calling. I declined it. He called again. Declined. Again. Declined. Then a text. "I know you did this. I know it was you. How could you destroy me like this? I lost everything." I typed back. My fingers steady. "You destroyed yourself the moment you replied to her text. I just made sure there were consequences. Send." 3 dots appeared immediately. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, "I'll fight you on the divorce. I'll make this hell for you. You won't get a penny." I actually laughed out loud. Rebecca looked at me concerned. "What did he say?" I showed her. She snorted. "Oh, honey. He has no idea what's coming, does he?" "Not a clue," I said. I watched Arthur finally start his car and pull away from the building, driving away from the career he'd spent 10 years building, the reputation he'd carefully crafted, the life he'd taken for granted, all of it gone in one morning because he couldn't keep his pants zipped around a 23-year-old. And somewhere in that same building, Mia was probably doing the same thing, packing up her little intern desk, crying, realizing that love wasn't worth losing her future over, that the married man who'd promised her everything had just cost her everything instead. My phone buzzed again, this time from my divorce lawyer, the shark Rebecca had connected me with over the weekend. Received employment termination confirmation from Morrison and Drake. This strengthens our case significantly. He'll have no income to show in asset division. We can move forward aggressively. I replied with one word: perfect. The divorce papers were served to Arthur on a Wednesday afternoon, exactly 2 weeks after he lost his job. The process server found him at a Starbucks at 2 p.m., because where else would an unemployed consultant be? Rebecca had hired a private investigator to track his movements, document everything, just in case Arthur tried to claim he was actively job hunting or too depressed to function. The PI's reports told a different story. Arthur spent most days in coffee shops, sending desperate LinkedIn messages that went unanswered, scrolling through job postings that wouldn't even give him an interview. The photos showed everything: unshaven, wearing sweatpants, laptop open to Indeed with 0 applications submitted. When I saw those pictures, something twisted in my chest. Not sympathy, more like confirmation. This was who he really was without me holding him up, without my support, my encouragement, my belief in him. He was just a man who'd traded his future for a few months of excitement with someone half his age. The first mortgage payment on the penthouse came due 3 weeks after his termination. He didn't pay it. I know because the bank called me. I was still listed as an emergency contact on the account, even though my name wasn't on the deed. Mrs. Chen, we're attempting to reach your husband regarding the missed payment on the property at... He's not my husband anymore, I said coldly, and that property is not my concern. Try his cell phone. I hung up before they could respond. But it felt good, knowing that expensive penthouse, the one with the skyline view Arthur loved so much, the one he'd insisted on buying even when I said it was too much, was becoming an anchor dragging him under. Rebecca had structured the promissory note brilliantly: 30 days to repay $62,000 in full, or we'd execute the lien and force the sale of the apartment. Arthur had 22 days left, no job, no prospects, no way out. He tried calling me on day 25. I'd been declining his calls for weeks, but something made me answer this time. Maybe curiosity, maybe cruelty. Maybe I just wanted to hear him beg. Julianne? His voice was hoarse, broken. Please, we need to talk about the loan. Your parents, they'd understand if we extended the deadline. I'm looking for work. I'm trying. But it takes time in this market. You had 3 years, Arthur, I said, my voice like ice. The original deadline was 2 years ago. I'm just enforcing the contract you signed, the one you agreed to when my parents believed in you and gave you that money. But I'll lose the apartment. I'll lose everything. His voice cracked. You already lost everything, I corrected. You lost it the moment you chose her over our marriage. This is just paperwork catching up to reality. Silence on the other end. Then, desperately, what about the Tesla? I can sell it. That'll give me some cash. Maybe enough to... The Tesla that's leased through Morrison and Drake's corporate fleet program? I asked. The company that fired you? I'm fairly certain they've already sent you the repossession notice. More silence. Then, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. They took it last week. I should have felt bad. Should have felt something other than this cold satisfaction. But I didn't. You should have thought about all this before you ruined your career for an intern who can't even rent a car yet without a co-signer, I said. Stop, he whispered. Just stop. You've already destroyed me. What more do you want? I want my parents' $50,000 back, I said simply, plus interest. By Friday at 5 p.m., or the apartment goes on the market and you can figure out where you're going to live. I hung up before he could respond. Rebecca was watching me from across her living room, a slight smile on her face. Ice cold, she said, impressed. Accurate, I corrected. There's a difference. On day 28, Arthur made one last desperate move. He called my parents, who'd welcomed him into our family with open arms, who'd treated him like the son they never had, who'd given him that money in good faith because they believed in his dream. My mom called me, confused and upset. "Sweetheart, Arthur just called. He's saying there's been some kind of misunderstanding about the loan, that you're forcing him to pay it back too quickly, that he needs more time." "Mom," I interrupted gently, "did he tell you why we're getting divorced?" A pause. "He said you'd grown apart, that it was mutual." I laughed, bitter and sharp. He had an affair with a 23-year-old intern from his office. For 6 months. He used your money to fund his lifestyle while he was cheating on me. He took her to expensive restaurants on his company card, paid for hotels, bought her gifts, and now he wants more time to pay you back because he got himself fired for sleeping with a subordinate and can't find another job because he's been blacklisted in the industry. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then my father's voice came on. She'd switched to speaker. "He did what?" His voice was pure ice. I told them everything, every detail. The texts, the hotels, the confrontation, the evidence I'd sent to HR, the termination, all of it. When I finished, my dad said, his voice shaking with rage, "You tell that son of a bitch he has until Friday at 5 p.m., or I'm personally coming to that apartment and changing the locks myself. I don't care what the legal process is." My mom added, her voice trembling, "I can't believe we trusted him. I can't believe we gave him our money, our faith, and he—" "It's okay, Mom," I said softly. "He's going to pay for all of it, I promise." And he tried to. God, he tried. On day 29, Arthur liquidated his 401k, took all the penalties, all the taxes, watched his retirement fund disappear. It gave him $38,000. Not enough. He sold his watch collection, the Rolex his father gave him, the Omega he'd bought to celebrate his promotion, all those status symbols he'd collected so carefully. Another $12,000, still short. He maxed out every personal credit card doing cash advances at usurious interest rates, borrowed from friends who still answered his calls, though there weren't many left, sold his furniture, his electronics, everything of value. On day 30, at 4:47 p.m., 13 minutes before the deadline, Arthur transferred $58,000 into my parents' account. I was watching my phone when the notification came through. So was Rebecca. "He's $4,000 short," she said. I called him immediately. "You're $4,000 short." "That's everything," he said, his voice completely hollow. "Everything I have. My retirement's gone. My credit is destroyed. I sold everything I own. There's nothing left, Julianne. Nothing." "Then you're $4,000 in debt," I said calmly. "And I'm filing the lien today. You're really going to take the apartment over $4,000. I could hear the disbelief, the desperation. "I'm going to take the apartment because you broke your vows, and then expected me to protect you from the consequences," I said. "The $4,000 is just math." I hung up. Rebecca filed the paperwork that afternoon. The lien was executed. Foreclosure proceedings began the next morning. Arthur had 60 days to vacate the premises. 60 days to pack up the life we'd built together and figure out where someone with no job, no money, and a destroyed reputation goes next. And me? I sat in Rebecca's guest room that night, looking at the bank statement showing my parents had received $58,000 of their $62,000 back, and I felt empty, hollow, like I'd won a war but couldn't remember what I'd been fighting for anymore. "You okay?" Rebecca asked from the doorway. "I don't know," I admitted. "I thought I'd feel triumphant, vindicated, but mostly I just feel tired." She sat down next to me. "That's normal." Revenge isn't as satisfying as people think it'll be. It's not revenge, I said quietly. It's justice. There's a difference. Is there? She asked. I thought about it. About Arthur. Probably sitting in that apartment right now, surrounded by boxes, his whole life reduced to whatever could fit in a moving truck. About Mia, back in her hometown, her career over before it started. About me, living in someone else's guest room, my marriage destroyed, starting over at 34. Yeah, I finally said, there is, because I can sleep at night. 3 months later, I signed the papers on my new place. Not a penthouse. I didn't need to prove anything anymore. Just a beautiful 2-bedroom condo in a quieter neighborhood, with big windows and a balcony where I could actually hear birds instead of traffic. The first thing I did was paint the living room a soft sage green. Arthur had hated green, said it was too earthy for his aesthetic. Well, guess what? It was my aesthetic now. I spent weeks making that place mine. Plants everywhere. Real ones. Living ones. The kind that need care and attention. Art on the walls that I actually liked. Not the black and white and minimalist prints Arthur insisted were sophisticated. A reading nook with a chair so comfortable I could disappear into it for hours. Everything in that condo was a choice I made alone, for myself, without compromising or negotiating or considering anyone else's opinion. And it felt like breathing for the first time in years. Rebecca came over one Saturday afternoon to see the finished result. She walked through slowly, taking it all in, then turned to me with tears in her eyes. "It's perfect," she said. "It's so... you." We ordered Thai food and sat on my new velvet couch, deep blue, completely impractical, absolutely perfect. "Have you heard anything about Arthur?" she asked carefully. I had. Through mutual acquaintances, through the occasional Google search I pretended I didn't do at 2 a.m. when I couldn't sleep. He's living in a studio apartment in the suburbs, found some contract work that pays a fraction of what he used to make. His LinkedIn photo is from 3 years ago because apparently he looks terrible now. I took a sip of wine. And Mia moved back to her parents' house. Couldn't find another internship anywhere. Turns out having terminated for ethics violation on your record makes you radioactive in the corporate world. "How does that make you feel?" Rebecca asked. "Honestly." "Tired," I admitted. I thought I'd feel victorious, but mostly I just feel exhausted. Like I spent so much energy destroying him that I forgot to heal myself. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. A notification from the bank. I picked it up, and my breath caught. A final settlement deposit, 34,000 yuan. Source, property sale, 447 Park Avenue Unit, 2304. The penthouse, Arthur's apartment, our apartment, the place where I'd caught him, confronted him, walked away from him. It had finally sold. After the bank took what they were owed for the mortgage, after the legal fees, after my parents got the remaining $4,000 they were owed, the surplus went to me as part of the divorce settlement. $34,000. Just appeared in my account like magic, like the universe saying, "Here, you earned this." I showed Rebecca. She whistled low. "Well, damn." "Yeah," I said softly. I stared at that number, trying to feel something, anything. It was real money, money that represented the complete liquidation of the life I'd built with Arthur. The penthouse we'd toured together, fallen in love with together, signed for together. The future we'd imagined. The children we'd planned to raise there. All of it reduced to a bank transfer. "What are you going to do with it?" Rebecca asked. I thought about it. A trip somewhere exotic, an investment portfolio, a down payment on something bigger. But none of it felt right. None of it felt like healing. "I'm going to live," I finally said. "I'm going to wake up every morning in this apartment that's completely mine, drink my coffee on that balcony, and remember that I'm the woman who refused to beg, who didn't make herself smaller to keep a man who didn't deserve her, who knew her worth and demanded that the world recognize it too. I looked at Rebecca. I'm going to be okay, eventually. You're already okay, she said firmly. You just don't see it yet. We finished our wine, ordered more food, laughed about things that had nothing to do with divorce or betrayal or revenge. And somewhere across the city, Arthur was probably in his studio apartment, eating ramen, wondering how everything fell apart so completely. But that wasn't my problem anymore. 2 weeks later, I was sitting at my kitchen table on a Sunday morning, coffee in hand, laptop open, finally feeling like I could breathe. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Silence. Then heavy breathing. Then, I hope you're happy. Arthur. His voice was different. Hollow. Defeated. I hope destroying my entire life was worth it to you. I should have hung up. Should have blocked the number and moved on. But I didn't. I didn't destroy your life, Arthur. I said calmly. You destroyed it yourself the moment you chose to betray me. I just made sure you faced the consequences instead of getting away with it. Consequences. He laughed, bitter and broken. I lost my job, my home, my savings, my reputation. I'm living in a shoebox, working jobs I'm overqualified for, eating discount groceries, and you got everything. The money, the sympathy, the moral high ground. I got honesty, I corrected. I got self-respect. I got a life that's actually mine instead of one built on lies. Silence. Then, I loved you. I really did. I made a mistake. You made hundreds of mistakes, I said. Every text, every lie, every time you came home and kissed me after being with her. Those weren't mistakes, Arthur. Those were choices. More silence. Then, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. I'm sorry. And maybe he was. Maybe he'd spent the last 6 months in that studio apartment, working his dead-end job, eating cheap food, and actually understanding what he'd lost. Maybe he'd grown. Maybe he'd changed. Or maybe he was just sorry he got caught. I appreciate that, I said, but it doesn't change anything. We're done. We've been done since the moment I saw that text on your phone. I paused. Don't call me again, Arthur. Move on. Build a new life. Learn from this. But leave me out of it. I hung up before he could respond. Blocked the number, deleted it from my recent calls, erased him, piece by piece, from my life. Rebecca texted me an hour later. Dinner tonight? There's someone I want you to meet. Not a setup, I promise. Just a friend. Someone interesting. I smiled and texted back, yes. What time? Because that's who I was now. Someone who said yes to possibilities instead of hiding from them. Someone who showed up for her own life instead of waiting for someone else to make it worth living. I looked around my apartment. My sage green walls. My velvet couch. My overflowing bookshelves. My plants thriving in the sunlight. My space. My choices. My future. Arthur had tried to break me. Tried to make me feel small and worthless and replaceable. But I'd taken that pain and transformed it into power, into freedom, into a life that was entirely, unapologetically mine. I hadn't just survived his betrayal. I'd used it to become someone stronger, someone better, someone who knew exactly what she was worth and refused to settle for anything less. And honestly, that was the best revenge of all. 6 months after everything fell apart, I found myself walking through Grant Park on a Saturday morning. The kind of crisp fall day where the air smells like possibility and the leaves crunch under your feet in that satisfying way. I had my coffee in one hand, my phone in the other, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't thinking about Arthur. Wasn't wondering what he was doing. If he regretted it. If he'd learned anything. He'd become background noise. Static. something that happened to me once, but didn't define me anymore. I sat down on a bench overlooking the lake and just breathed, really breathed. Deep, clean breaths that filled my lungs completely. And I realized something. I was happy. Not the forced happiness you perform for other people. Not the, "I'm fine," you say, when you're definitely not fine. But actual, genuine contentment. I'd survived the worst betrayal of my life, and I'd come out the other side stronger, clearer, more myself than I'd been in years. My phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. "Brunch tomorrow. Want you to meet someone. Gallery owner. Thinks your eye for art is incredible. Could be a job opportunity." I smiled and texted back yes immediately. Because that's what the new version of me did. She said yes to possibilities. She showed up for her life instead of waiting for permission to live it. I thought about that night in the penthouse, when I saw Mia's text and my whole world shattered. How my hands had shaken. How my heart had raced. How I'd wanted to scream and break things and set the world on fire, but I hadn't. I'd gotten cold, calculated, strategic. I'd taken my pain and transformed it into power. And in doing that, I discovered something crucial. I didn't need Arthur to be happy. I'd never needed him. I just convinced myself I did because being part of we felt safer than being just me. Well, I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of being alone. Not of starting over. Not of the empty space where a marriage used to be. Because here's what I learned. You can't destroy someone who refuses to break. You can betray them, lie to them, humiliate them. But if they know their worth, if they refuse to beg or diminish themselves to keep you, then they're already free. And freedom? Freedom is the best revenge. I could have screamed. I could have made a scene. I could have begged Arthur to choose me, to fix it, to love me the way I deserved. But I didn't. Because women like me, women who know their value, who have the receipts, who refuse to settle for betrayal, we don't beg. We don't chase. We simply remove ourselves from situations that don't serve us, and we let the consequences speak for themselves. Arthur lost his career, his home, his savings, his reputation. And yeah, I orchestrated some of that. I made sure the right people knew exactly what he'd done. But mostly, he did it to himself. I just refused to protect him from his own choices anymore. I finished my coffee and stood up, ready to walk home to my sage green living room, my velvet couch, my life that was entirely, beautifully mine. The sun was warm on my face. The future stretched out ahead of me like an open road, and I was ready for whatever came next, because I'd already survived the worst. Everything else was just details. I could have gloated. I could have rubbed his face in it, reminded him every day of what he'd lost. But I didn't need to. The best revenge wasn't making him suffer. It was building a life so good that his betrayal became irrelevant. A footnote. A lesson learned on the way to becoming who I was always meant to be. And as I walked through that park, surrounded by people living their ordinary, beautiful lives, I realized I'd won. Not because Arthur lost everything, but because I'd refused to lose myself. But the next story, it's not about an uncomfortable dinner. It's about life or death. Imagine being pregnant, trapped in a fire, and seeing your firefighter husband burst through the door. You feel relief, until he walks right past you, saves the mistress who started the fire, and leaves you to die saying, "Sorry, I can only carry one." She survived to watch him receive a hero medal on TV, but she had the footage from his helmet cam. Click here to see how she turned his gala ceremony into a live arrest.